Yeah. Anyway, so they've been around for a while, until 2001. The Armco company, that's American Rolling Mills, they had their place going. That was very definitely something that they employed all of their students. They had junior bands, which were part-time for little kids, often for the children of the employees. And they would have those students children working in their own band. The idea being that when they got old enough, they will work for the company and be in the company band. That's basically how that worked. So, and none of these, no matter how much they had, was intended to eliminate or to replace the public school music programs. It was intended to supplement them. Nobody ever had the ideas that they were going to do other than that. And as soon as the public schools developed and got to be a stronger music program, often the companies turned their program over to the public schools.
What years did I'm not familiar with what years did public schools bring music in?
Oh, it's for public school music education. Started with singing in 1838. Instrumental started someplace right after World War I, officially.
Okay.
And then, especially the mill towns down in the middle places of God knows where America, where the mines were,
right.
It may not have had a very strong public school program. Right. And so around the 50s, things started switching out of the companies and over to public schools. So we have the Jones picture that you just saw, that they actually had music classes for the kids in the 40s. Kind of a small picture, but it was in a book, so I grabbed it. This is the only one I could get. And when I blew it up, it turned into bunker stuff. This is a Kohler band. You know Kohler Plumbing? Yeah, Kohler, Wisconsin. Ketchum Young. So yeah, this is the junior band. Junior bands are supposed to become the senior bands. There were children's bands at the U.S. Coal and Coke Company in Gary, West Virginia, and Lynch, Kentucky back in the 20s. There was all kinds of adult and school groups going on through a lot of the mining companies, a lot of the railroads, all of these places. In many cases, they amplified the teaching corps because it was not unusual for a public school to provide the supervisor for business ensemble and for the business ensemble teacher to be the one who was also helping out the schools. So there was a lot of back and forth with who's running what. So in exchange, that's basically it. It was an interrelationship. There were even newspaper bands. The bands that would have young people, the newsboys, there was often a lot of bands. We had some here for the Detroit Press. The Detroit Press band. There was the Evening Press, which is now the Grand Rapids Press. They all had bands. Chicago Journal, Chicago Defender, which was an African-American paper. They had band too. Lots of them. Now, MENC, which is the Music Educators National Conference, held a conference here in Detroit in 1926, and they showcased the Industrial Mutual Association Glee Club of Flint. That used to be the Buick group in Flint. That became a large community group. Actually, they took all the businesses in Flint, put all their choruses together and created this. And then, afterwards, it became a community group. In 1928, a representative from the Union Pacific Railroad Band sent its director to the National High School Band Contest in Joliet, Illinois, which was sponsored through Music Education, because they wanted to find out how to do a really good band contest so they could do it with their International Railway League of bands. So there was back and forthing going on here. Dance education. You want to laugh on this one? Well, here's the IBM Kids Chorus from the 50s and their band from the 50s. They called it an orchestra. It's not an orchestra. There's not a violin in sight. It is a band. Now, there was definitely dancing involved. For the most part, dancing was a part of social life. Henry Ford had a particular thing about old-time dancing, and he, as a one-man show, sponsored, you will not believe the number of dance classes around the country. Now, just to get you in the mood, This is the Lincoln School in Dearborn, 1938. This is fourth graders learning how to do early American dancing. They don't look particularly happy, but that's okay. Henry Ford sponsored the dance master and the musicians and had them go to the schools, and they taught the kids how to do these dances. This is square dancing, contra dancing, country reels, country dancing, in effect, not ballroom. And his whole idea was that this is wholesome, good stuff, and we all need to do it. He kind of, sort of forced it on his own executives and plant management employees. It was a more or less required event.
More or less.
As wholesome dancing was part of his personal agenda for improving the lives of his workers. Okay. Now, Lovett Hall is still over there at Dearborn. It's on the Greenfield Village site. And the dances were held in that hall. Just amazing. He offered a dancing text. He got interested in mostly the education of, in the schools where he had property or companies. And so, in effect, he was teaching this to his employees' kids, in effect. That's what it comes down to. His influence was at the Trade School for Boys in Highland Park, the Edison Institute of Greenfield Village, you know where that is, in Dearborn, the Ways Consolidated School, and the George Washington Carver School for African Americans. That was the white school, and his paired black school, down in Richmond Hill, Georgia. The Berry School, which is now Berry College in Mount Berry, Georgia. 3 schools in South Sudbury, Massachusetts, and the Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee. He had dancing influence in all those places. For the Richmond Hill School and the Carver Hill School, he even provided the school with a music teacher, instruments for a band, music class, choral singing, and personally, this I love, when he was traveling down to his estates down in Georgia, he'd bring his whole band with him. And they'd stop off the school, and they would do a whole week of like master classes with the band, teaching these kids how to do this stuff. And when they left, they would leave the recordings so that the teachers would be able to keep going with the records that were made. You're going to hear what that sounded like, too. So it was pretty much the way. The reason he got involved in either Berry College or at Lincoln University is because they were en route.
Yeah.
On the way down through Tennessee to Georgia. So he found all these places, and he put his 2 cents worth into it. You get to hear that, too. That's his band. That's his orchestra, I should say. This is the tuba, 2 cembalo, and a violin. Okay? And by 1935, Benjamin Lovett, as in Lovett Hall, who was his prime and only master teaching. It's the guy he settled on as his dance caller, and the orchestra there. That is Lovett Hall. That's the stage. And they've added a couple of instruments. We still have the 2 cembalo, but he's got an accordion now, a string bass instead of a tuba. Okay. Then there's the dance orchestras from the companies for PR, for company parties, for all kinds of things. And some places actually had the dance orchestras playing during lunch to help relax people. You can dance, you can listen to music. Chrysler had a dance band also during the 30s. Same reason. Back to Henry Ford, just for one last little tidbit. Many of the Detroit area schools were recipients of Ford's largesse. And instructors for the early American dances, there were over 500 kids that got those lessons in the metro area every year. And there was 150 public schools and 24 colleges that he actually affected. Just that man, that one man. By the time you get into the 30s, things are kind of changing. We're getting a lot of these organizations just kind of stop because of the Depression and the coming war. But there's a second wave of all this that comes up primarily because of the Depression and the coming war, and that is that during this period, the employees want this, so they would keep going back to the management and saying, can we do this? Management would say, sure.